After 2 rounds of the NEAFL Eastern Conference, the Queanbeyan Tigers sit on top of the ladder, while Eastlake won their first game in their first appearance of season 2012, while the Sydney Swans reserves and UWS Giants return this weekend. Let's take a look at all the round 2 action from the NEAFL Eastern Conference. Round 2 saw the first NEAFL interconference match between reigning Eastern Premiers Ainslie and Northern Conference side Labrador battle it out. And it was the Queenslanders who came out on top. Ainslie was left goalless in the opening term, Labrador holding an early 37-point lead. The trend continued throughout the match with former Brisbane Premiership winning player Tim Nodding kicking 4 goals. The final score, Labrador 2014-134, Ainslie 6-13-49. Fresh off their win against Sydney Uni, Hills Eagles were looking to continue their winning ways against Queanbeyan. The Tigers got up at a high-scoring affair. Superbird James Kavanagh kicked 5. Hills Eagles had 5 multiple goal scorers but couldn't scrape over the line. 20-21-144 for Queanbeyan. Hills Eagles 18-10-118. 7 goals to Eastlake's Aaron Bruce was the shining light in their win over Tuggeranong. In their first hit out of the season, the Black and Red showed plenty of class in the forward line. The Hawks slumping to their second straight loss, 20-15-135 to 11-9-75. And the Belconnen Magpies won their first game of the season up against Sydney Uni. The home side went into the main break with a narrow margin but didn't have the legs in the second half. Paul Ratz and Shane Harris bagged 7 between them. Tim Barrett from Sydney Uni got 6 goals, but his side went down 18-17-125 to 14-15-99. Welcome to our third week of NEAFL Eastern Footy Talk. Thanks so much for being with us. We've had hundreds of hits, thousands even, for this show and our live streaming of Game of the Round. And our guest co-host this week is a former Richmond Tigers player and he's now with the Tuggeranong Hawks in the NEAFL, Marc Dragicevic. Nice to have you on board, champion.
Thanks for having me, Greg.
Mate, how's things going, mate? The transition to the NEAFL. Tell us about your AFL days, mate.
Oh, a long time ago now, it seems. Richmond, lucky enough to get picked up by them and there for 6 years. Then moved over to the SANFL with West Adelaide and really enjoyed my time over there. Back to Geelong for a few years and then here I am in Canberra.
Mate, you've been everywhere.
I have. I've been everywhere, man. Don't worry about that. And loving the sunshine up here now.
Mate, well, now you're with the Hawks. How are they going? I mean, things are a bit rusty starting off, fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, obviously our round 1 game was a little bit disappointing to say the least. I thought our effort was there against Eastlake, just a few execution errors, skill errors at crucial times, and also full credit to them as well. Well,
before we take a look at the game and get some comments from the coaches after Saturday night's clash, we've got some photos of you back in the old school days when you first started. How old were you when you first got drafted, mate, and where from?
I was 17 years old and I literally 66 kilos I weighed, so obviously a little bit different to now, and I can't even imagine what you've got lined up right now.
Well, let's take a look at these photos. Here they are of Marc. Explain what is going on here, please.
Well, that's me doing my best Zoolander, obviously, back in the day. Don't listen to photographers, that's what they tell you to do.
You look 13. What's happening here?
There, I'm a lot thinner version than what I am now.
Playing against Adelaide. Do you remember that day at all?
No, I don't. And
a footy card.
Funny story of that is, first footy card, friends buy my footy card. Yeah, that's not even me. It's Clay Sampson, good old friend of mine. So I've never taped a shoulder before, and that's what it came out. He's a better looking version of me, though. So
they've stitched you up, mate.
Not too disappointing.
Here's your footy card, and it's not even you.
No, exactly.
That is incredible, mate. You know you've made it when you got stuff like that happening.
I know, it's a good story.
All right, well, let's take a look at some of the vision from the game against Eastlake at Greenway Oval, mate. Obviously not the best result, as we touched on earlier. How are you going to bounce back this week?
We're just going to get hungry. I mean, 0-2, we need to get a win on the board. Another night game down at Greenway. We had some good support there, so we'll be obviously keen to come out, put in a good performance and hopefully get a win against Belconnen.
Well, a NEAFL Footy Talk caught up with your coach, Glenn Gorman, after the game, and of course all smiles at Eastlake from Matthew Burke, and 7 goals by Aaron Bruce. Here's what they have to say.
Yeah, I thought the biggest positive that I thought came out of the game tonight was our effort. You know, we were horribly embarrassed last week, and it really seemed like a few of the boys, dropped their bundle early and gave up the ghost. We've really worked hard on it, obviously, during the week, but they really came out with some more intensity tonight. They were really committed, especially around the stoppages. It was really tough and accountable tonight. Obviously our execution probably let us down. Eastlake, probably used the ball a bit better than us, and I think that was the difference in the end.
Yeah, it was good. It was nice to get a win on the board. We had the bye last week to roll in the season, and get the 4 points is nice. I didn't like the fact the light tower was struggling to turn on at the start of the game. But other than that, a couple of silly free kicks and a few silly 50s. But we addressed that, and a couple of our young blokes made a few bad clangers, but it's all a learning game.
You never know how you're going to go leading in, particularly with the bye first round. And you saw Tuggeranong kind of had a fairly hefty loss last week, and we always knew that they were going to come out and really give us a shot. So it's they play this ground pretty well. So yeah, it's what we're aiming to do, and get the first road trip out of the way. It's always a challenge with the bit of travel, but something you get used to. And yeah, we'll be looking to make it a 2-from-2 start.
A lot of different comments there by both the coaches, Anthony Burke and Glenn Gorman. Disappointing out of Glenn, obviously. 2 in a row, but all smiles over at Eastlake. What a start they had.
Yes, and like they said, from the bye to get a win first up under lights, that's all you can ask for.
Plenty of highlights as well, including an incredible mark by one of your teammates, Ashley Pocock.
Yep.
He was absolutely brilliant. He flew to the heavens, which is an early contender for Mark of the Year, mate.
Yeah, it's good to see Poey just get up here. That's a pretty good grab. We were watching that at training. We thought we'd have a good look at it, and noticed a bit of, I wasn't sure if it was Rex Hunt commentating the game, but he got very excited. Ablett-esque that day at the MCG, so I wouldn't mind actually listening to that if you
Who
could.
could you be talking about, Mark?
I don't know. I think it's the NEAFL's #1 commentator. So
The only commentator, I think, might be out of a gig now. Let's take a look. Tuggeranong with the ball right in front of us. Number 1, Smith uses it. Big thumping right foot kick. Approaching the 50 mark of the day. Wow. That is an absolute stitch up.
No, look, I thought that was impressive. That was good. You're excited, just like the crowd were, and yeah.
Thank you very much. I'm on notice now. We'll go to the ladder now, please. Thank you very much. After 2 rounds, it looks like this. Queanbeyan's on top of the ladder with 8 points, haven't lost a game. Swans in second, followed by Eastlake Belconnen, and the new boys, the Hills Eagles, making up the top 5. The reigning Eastern Conference premiers Ainslie in 6th, followed by Sydney Uni, Tuggeranong and the Giants. We will take a break on NEAFL Footy Talk. After it, all the round 3 action.
Get behind your team. For match details, head to neafl.com.au.
Welcome back to NEAFL Eastern Footy Talk. Let's get straight into it. Round 3 of the competition looks a little something like this. Friday night, 5 p.m, it's Tuggeranong and Belconnen. That's going to be a big game. Obviously, Tuggeranong, you want to break the duck?
Oh, definitely. That's our aim. 0-2. We don't want to be 0-3. Really keen to get out there again in front of our supporters and put on a good show, and we need to come away with the win this week.
Belconnen are 1 from 1. They'll be, looking to make it 2 wins on the trot. Very important for them.
Yeah, and we also played each other a few weeks ago, so I'm sure both sides got a bit out of that, and they're obviously going to be very keen after a good win round 1.
Well, NEAFL Footy Talk caught up with one of their star players, Stephen Coate, to get his thoughts.
They're a really good side, Tuggeranong, and there's no doubt that Gormo would be fuming at the start they've had, but I think they'll really come out and give it a good shake this weekend, so we have to be on our game. We had a couple of niggles on the weekend, but I think the boys that did have those niggles will be right for this weekend.
Next up, the Sydney Swans, the red and white return. They're taking on the Gold Coast Suns in another NEAFL inter-conference match. The Swans were very dominant in the first round, weren't they?
Yeah, and they're obviously going to be very, very hard to beat this year with the depth of their list.
And plenty of good starts in the Gold Coast side as well. Next up is Ainslie playing host to Hills Eagles. That game is on Saturday at 12 p.m. Ainslie, they need to bounce back after an absolute shellacking against Labrador from the Gold Coast.
Yeah, it's not often you see a score result like that with Ainslie involved, so I'm sure they'll be very keen to make amends this week.
And the Hills Eagles are going along very nicely as well. They're 1 from 1. NEAFL Footy Talk caught up with Ainslie coach Chris Rourke, and they're not taking the Sydney boys lightly.
Yeah, it's a great thing about footy, isn't it? You have a disastrous week like 1 week, and this week we get a chance to redeem ourselves. So, yeah, hopefully we'll have a really good night on the track tonight and take on the new boys from Sydney and do to them what Labrador did to us.
The next game is Sydney Uni and Eastlake. That game is being held 12 p.m. Saturday as well. Sydney Uni looking to get their first win of the season, Mark. They have not disgraced themselves by any means. They're going all right.
No, definitely. I mean, they would just be keen to get a win on the board, obviously being new to the competition, but definitely been very competitive. And obviously Eastlake, we know what they did to my Hawk boys, so yeah, they'll be looking to continue that winning streak.
And the final game of the round is the UWS Giants taking on the Brisbane Lions at Blacktown International Sports Park. That's 1 p.m. Saturday in what will wrap up a super Saturday of NEAFL Eastern action. Of course, the UWS Giants looking to get their first win of the competition, and they're up against the Lions, which is great to see two AFL teams, their reserve boys, going head-to-head.
Yeah, once again, it's going to be a good test for the Giants, young kids. Much like Sydney, the bigger bodies of Brisbane have been around a while and will have good depth. So, yeah, it'll be a good game.
It's going to be off the chart, and of course, Queanbeyan Tigers have the bye for this round. Of course, the Sydney Swans in the AFL, the A-graders going head-to-head with Fremantle at the SCG, while the GWS Giants, in their second game in the AFL competition, head to Hobart to meet the Kangaroos. And of course, you can go onto afl.com.au for all ticketing information. It's going to be a big round in the AFL as well. That is us done for NEAFL Footy Talk for episode 3. Marc Dragicevic, thanks so much for your time, mate.
No, thank you very much for having me and stitching me up with my little chicken arms back in the day.
That's all right.
Really appreciate it.
Me in the commentary box. Unreal. Best of luck this weekend against Belconnen under lights, mate, and hopefully you can crack the duck as well.
Cheers.
All right, Mark, thanks so much. You can keep up to date with us on Twitter, Facebook, and of course neafl.com.au. And that'll give you the link for our game of the round being broadcast live this week. It's Ainslie and Hills Eagles, 12 p.m. on Saturday. Game of the round. I'll be in the commentary box, I think.
I think you will, mate. Definitely.
Thank you so much. neafl.com.au has the link. I'm Greg Thomson. Thanks so much for being with us. We'll see you next week on NEAFL Eastern Footy Talk. Bye for now.